So RRR is the best film I've seen this year. Well, one of the best. Uh, I mean, this film just has everything. It has everything I could ever want in an action film. So, if for some reason you haven't heard of this wonderful little film that's making the rounds, this is an Indian film that depicts the British occupied India in the 1920s, and focuses on the relationship between Raju, a soldier working alongside like the British Army, and Beam, a revolutionary for a local tribe who was wronged by the British. So essentially, these two clash. Beam is considered like someone who needs to be brought in because he's a danger. He's going to threaten all like the British rule and everything. And Raju is tasked with bringing him in. Eventually, they realize that they have a common enemy with the British, and they team up to wage a two-man war against the British, who they feel have wronged them. Now, that's kind of like the Cliff Notes version of what happens in this film. Because the thing is, this film, you might look at like that very brief synopsis and then ask yourself, well, wait a minute, why is this film 3 hours long? And the reason that it's 3 hours long is because this film has everything. It has everything that you'd want in an exciting period action film like this, with two amazing leads. I mean, you have N.T. Rama Rao Jr. as Beam and Ram Kaharn as Raju, and they own these roles. They are fierce in them. Like, for one, you have scenes where there's an amazing sequence early in the film when Raju is tasked with going out and like bringing back in this one guy who like threw a brick at like the British or like a rock or something like that. And it's like one guy amid all these people who are protesting, and he just leaps into the crowd and just like beats the crap out of everyone trying to bring in this one guy. And it's just like, I mean, like it reveals so much about like his character, and you hope that he'll turn, but that whole sequence just feels like, okay, this guy's a badass and you've got to take him seriously. And at the same time, you have Beam, who's adorable at first. You fall in love with this guy immediately, especially since like he wants to, he wants to like find some love within like the British as well. And the thing is, like, there's this very switching of sides too, because at first, like, Raju and Beam, Raju kind of like goes undercover to kind of like infiltrate and find Beam. And while he does so, they become friends pretty quickly. In fact, you can pinpoint the moment where you can see like their friendship builds when they notice there's a car crash and a kid is threatened by like this flaming truck, and the two of them team up with this amazing sequence where they swing across like this bridge to try to save this kid and prevent a fire from consuming this kid. And they do it all with like, I believe they do it with like this giant flag where they swing back and forth and they try to like get out of the way of the flames, and they have that perfect moment where the title sequence comes up where they both clash hands like that under the bridge. They say their names, the music kicks in, and then the title comes up. It's just like, oh my god, that's pitch perfect filmmaking there. And then you have so many other great sequences, like there's some brutal showdowns where you watch like this whole tribe get massacred when they're still trying to master guns, and the showdown is just beautifully intense. There's a great scene at a party where Raju and Beam are kind of like, like they're looked down upon by like the British, and they basically upstage them with this incredible musical sequence where they just, oh my god, these two actors, not only do they have some amazing fight sequences, but they have incredible dance sequences that you just have to see this film to believe what goes down during like the dance sequence, which is just amazing. Some of like the action sequences, I will admit they're a bit over the top, where you're kind of gonna have to let the CGI slide here. In particular, there's a sequence where Beam infiltrates this party, and when I say infiltrate, I mean he drives a truck through it, and then when he gets out of the truck, he's wielding fire, I believe, and all these animals like tigers and gazelles just in slow motion, just like descend out of the truck and go to town on all these British soldiers. And of course, like, yeah, you could tell, obviously, they have the tigers, like, CGI, when it attacks, like, the British soldiers. But for that one sequence where Beam is just jumping midair, ready to kill anyone so that he can, like, his whole mission, he's trying to retrieve his daughter. It's just so badass that you can let little bits like that slide. And it's mostly because a lot of the other fight sequences that don't rely on the CGI just look cool. Like the scene where, like, Beam and Raju are on each other's shoulders, like, basically, like, you know how, like, when, like, you're a pool and you do that thing where you're on each other's shoulders and fighting? They do that same thing here, except, like, they're actually fighting and killing people while one of them is on the other person's shoulders. Like, I don't know if you fans of Venture Brothers know, like, the Mecha Shiva thing that they did. It's basically that. And it works. So there's so many badass sequences here, especially when you get to the finale, when one of them's on a horse and one of them's on a motorcycle, and they're running and gunning through, like, the woods while they get up to, like, the British stronghold and basically make it explode in the coolest way possible. And, like, there's so much that goes on in this film in terms of, like, you know, like, this, you know, like, finding kinship and, like, and you know, bonding together to fight against a common enemy. But it's just like, and I mean, like, yeah, there's a bigger story in there about colonialism, which is an important theme to the film, and being true to yourself and being being honest with yourself as well. But let's be honest here, this film just looks cool. It's just, everything about it is so damn cool. The musical sequences are amazing. The fight sequences are badass. The staging is beautiful. The direction is pitch perfect. The editing is crisp and just so finely chopped that, like, even for being a 3-hour film, it doesn't feel like 3 hours. You like, let me tell you, if you have to watch one 3-hour action film in your life, like, if you're one of those people who's just like, you've sworn off, I'm never going to watch a 3-hour action film, let me tell you, this is the one you need to watch. Set aside some time. I guarantee you will not be disappointed with this film. This is one of my favorite films of the year by far. Like, I know there's a lot of Indian action films, and I sometimes get around to seeing them, and a lot of them are really cool. I do dig them. Some of them get a little overblown with the CGI here and there, but most of them are fairly cool. This one, however, RRR, is just mind-blowing. This is, without question, going to go on my list for the top 10 films of 2022. This is badass. I am not surprised that this got, like, a second theatrical release here in America. Like here in America, we do get, like, Indian releases here and there, and some of them actually do rise pretty high up in the box office. But RRR, to the best of my knowledge, is the only one that's ever got, like, an encore showing. There might have been one or two in the past, but this is the most recent one I can remember, and it's worth it. I hope that this film gets considered around awards time, or that it at least gets, like, another theatrical screening, because let me tell you, I regret not seeing this in the theater with the crowd. Let me tell you, you have got to see this with the crowd, because the reactions that they will have to sequences where I can't even discuss, like, just the musical sequences in general are just jaw-dropping, and then you have sequences where there's tigers and, like, they're on each other's shoulders. Like, so much of this film is just so badass that it just works. It's such a perfect film, and definitely one of my favorite films of the year.